Folks hear me?
Ooh.
I guess they can.
We sure can.
Well, good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you to George Mason University, to Mason Square. We are so delighted that you're here with us today. We hope that this is the start of a longer collaboration and dialogue. I'm Liza Wilson-Durant. I'm Associate Provost for Strategic Initiatives and Community Engagement. It's good to see a few familiar faces out there. I want to talk a little bit, sort of build on the panel that we just heard from and talk about talent and how we're building talent, but also how we're attracting it and retaining it, and what the talent responds to and some of the things that we've been doing. So on March 13th in 2020, George Mason announced that they were going to extend spring break. And once we returned from spring break, that the entire operation would move to an online atmosphere. So that was the beginning of the end of work as we know it, as education as we know it. For our Gen Z students, it was a disruption in their education, in their social networks, their physical well-being, their future plans, and push them to dwell in a world of tremendous uncertainty. This generation, this cohort, has already been living through the Great Recession and experiencing the economic impact to their families and well-being. They've been dealing with the highest cost of education in history, highest education debt in history. Add on top of that, escalating costs for basic things like housing and food. They're living through a global environmental climate crisis, a global pandemic, and now a war where the atrocities are coming through to them daily on their phones and social media. So they are dealing with global and grand challenges, and those things are impacting the way that they make choices about their future. And then there's a few characteristics about these Gen Zers that add on top of that and are influencing the decisions they're making about what they want to do with their lives. Of course, they're digital natives, so they teach themselves everything they want to know when they want to know it, thanks to the internet. They are the most diverse generation in history, so they really care about individuality. That's important to them, their role on a team and what they can bring. They are deeply concerned about the environment. So these are the influences that are driving them to decide, do they want a career in cybersecurity or something else? They're very mission driven. That's on the supply side. On the demand side, you all have been talking about this all week. The pandemic has had an equal impact on that in terms of severity. We're seeing, of course, proliferation of attacks in systems that we thought were secure before, and it's touching every aspect of our lives. Huge number of jobs open in just this region. We've got 68,000 open cybersecurity jobs. So what are we doing to attract this talent, these Gen Zers? And by the way, they're attracted in different ways than the Gen X, the Y, the Boomers, and the Millennials. We've got to keep them all engaged and all attracted and secure and innovative. How are we doing that now? So just before the pandemic, the Commonwealth of Virginia, as part of the deal to bring Amazon HQ2 to Virginia, invested $900 million, or is investing $900 million in institutes of higher ed in Virginia, to ask us to increase the number of graduates in 3 specific areas: computer science, computer engineering, and software engineering. Of course, those 3 fields feed right into cybersecurity, so that's good. Those resources are meant to help us not only attract more students and build programs, but we've got to hire all the faculty. So we've got to hire hundreds of new faculty. And of course, if we have all these students and faculty, we need new infrastructure. So George Mason's the recipient of about $235 million of those resources. And what we're doing is investing in many different aspects of building up our tech talent pipeline. But in particular, we're investing in a new building. And as we were thinking about a new building, we didn't want to just build another new building which houses our faculty and students. We really believe that diversity fuels innovation. The last panel, we were just having a nice discussion about diversity, how to diversify the cybersecurity workforce. How do we get these Gen Zers engaged? They're incredibly diverse generation, right? They're exactly what we're looking for. So we think we really need to bring in partners into these buildings. And not just industry partners, but government partners, nonprofit partners. So the new building we're envisioning will have about a third of the space devoted to industry partners. And there are buildings around the world that combine academia and industry together, and that's terrific. But it's usually the first 3 or 4 floors are academia, and then the top 5 or 6 floors are industry, and they never meet except on the elevator or maybe in the lobby, or maybe if there's a lecture, but not even then. So we're being very deliberate about the design of this new building to make sure that every floor is intermixed with these different partners. We're designing tremendous collaboration spaces so that folks can bump into each other and have those kinds of conversations. We're really trying to turn the building inside out as well, so that it's very transparent. If you're like me, you go on a college campus, you have no idea which buildings you're allowed to come into. You come into this building, well, you just know you need to get to the auditorium, but you're worried you're going to take a wrong turn and walk into an aspect of the building that you're not allowed, a laboratory or someone's office. We want this building to be completely open and transparent. That's a challenge when you're doing secure work. There'll be secure classified facilities in this building to do our work, laboratories, but we're doing our best to make sure that there are so many aspects of what we're doing that are available. So for example, in this first floor of this building, you see the glass where it says Mason Robotics. That's a robotics lab, a double height lab, where we will be able to have people as they're passing by, just as they have coffee, be able to see what's going on inside. And we want to bring the community in there too, K through 12, seniors, neighbors, the entire community in this awesome, bustling Roslyn-Ballston corridor of tech to be able to engage with us. We're also being very deliberate about thinking about innovation and the laboratories and breaking down the silos. So cybersecurity now, as you all know, is got to be a multidisciplinary endeavor. It can't just be about the guy that studied cybersecurity engineering. It's got to be about the guy that understands arts and graphic design, that understands communication, that speaks multiple languages. All of those people have to come together, and we need to create spaces where they're free to be able to engage with each other. And it's not my lab and your lab, and I'll come meet you in your lab, we'll have that discussion, and I'll go back to my lab. We're trying to design spaces where multiple people can get together and work and even leverage equipment, and thinking about it in a very functional way. And then finally, I was talking about those Gen Zers and how they're really driven by their values. So this building is going to be a building that's about sustainability and resilience. And so it'll be a LEED Platinum building. If you know something about construction, it will be a net zero ready building. We're a few hundred million, no, about a few million shy of making it completely net zero. But what we've done is design it so it has all the infrastructure and architecture so that as we raise more and more money, we can add more and more solar panels and hopefully eventually take it 100% off the grid. Imagine a 9-story, cyber-intensive, with secure facilities building that's entirely off the grid. That's the goal. At first, we'll only be able to do solar panels on the south-facing side and on the roof, but we'll hopefully get there one day. So that's sort of our strategy to try and engage these kids in the tech sector, right? And also bring those partners that are so critical in training folks for cybersecurity and related tech talent fields. I want to tell you just a little bit about how we're training them along the way. So of course, Northern Virginia has fabulous institutions of higher ed, but we ask the question, are we training them in the right skills, knowledge, and abilities that industry cares about, that they want? So about 3 years ago, the Commonwealth began a program known as the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. That's about a $25 million annual investment in cybersecurity in 3 areas: workforce, innovation, and research. We set out to understand from our partners what are the top skills, knowledge, and abilities you want. We had 125 people get back to us from industry and government, and you'll see along the top there the main skills, knowledge, or abilities that they were asking for. And then we mapped the curriculum, not all the curriculum, but we picked a few courses from, or a few degree programs from each institution and mapped it back. And we can see we're doing a pretty good job at training folks, but we still need more than just the academic work, right? We need the experiential learning aspect of things, right? And we've been talking a little bit about that. How do we get students to that 3 to 5 years of experience that the government wants for these government contracts? So we're attacking this from multiple directions in CCI. So of course, we're subsidizing college internships. Check, everybody's doing that. And that's having a great result. But we're also trying to widen that pipeline, right? So we're going back and doing high school internships. You'd be amazed at how much high school students know about cybersecurity. They're self-taught, remember? These are the Gen Zers. We're also adding on top of that, though, a professional skills development session. That helps those high school folks get a little bit more ready for the real workplace, which is the big apprehension for a company to take on a high schooler. We're also subsidizing internships with cybersecurity startups. This is where you see an amazing number of diverse candidates go. They want to be part of a team. They want to be in on the ground floor. And when we are hosting these internships with entrepreneurs, and believe me, we've got 100 entrepreneurs around here that are asking for these interns and hundreds of applicants for those positions. 50% of them are women. It's been a fabulous, enlightening experience. Women are very attracted to entrepreneurship. We insist that all of our students that are engaged in these experiential learning go through clearance readiness. So we're cleaning up social media, teaching them about finance, international contacts, getting their paperwork ready so they know what they're getting into, and teaching them about living the cleared lifestyle so they'll be successful. We're also trying to widen that pipeline. We were talking earlier about apprenticeships. We want to reach those people who aren't getting these degrees that I was just describing, right? The non-engineering, non-computer scientists. This program is offered to folks who might be career changers, the stay-at-home mom who hasn't been in school in 20 years but wants to get into cybersecurity, transitioning military, the kid who majored in psychology or communications and really wants to go into cyber now or get a higher paying job. So it's a 7-week, full-time, paid 100% boot camp in cybersecurity followed by a 12-week apprenticeship, 100% paid. Our hope is then the company will hire them and send them on their way through a pathway into cybersecurity. We just closed our call on that. We had 400 applications for 20 slots. So believe me, there's a hunger for this stuff out there. And then lastly, other ways of experiential learning. So we're subsidizing research assistantships. And a lot of industry folks think, well, they're doing research. That's not very applicable to the industry. But look at some of the topics that our students are working on in research, and imagine those are on their resume and how attractive that is for an industry partner. And then one last thing I want to share is that we were talking earlier in the last panel about K through 12. So again, we're trying to widen this pipeline. I'm trying to throw money at all different kinds of programs to try and get as many people to funnel into cybersecurity as possible. So we worked and invested in a cohort of teachers in Northern Virginia. We had 23 teachers, and we brought them working with our great partner, Cyber.org, got them to really dig into cybersecurity, work on case studies, lesson plans, and they took it back to the classroom. And they weren't just teachers who were teaching computer science or math. These were teachers who taught Spanish and phys ed, and they're bringing it all the way back to kindergartners. And the impact was 2,500 students are getting some curriculum in cybersecurity that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I'm going to leave you with one little video that I hope will give you some other voices than mine that will talk a little bit about, again, how we're trying to attract the talent, retain it, draw entrepreneurs, innovators to this region, and hopefully continue to build that pipeline.
How will we solve our greatest societal challenges? With innovation and collaboration across disciplines at the speed of now. So what should we do now to ensure that what's next is a better tomorrow?
Bring disparate groups and people who normally would not have a catalyst to come together to create things that did not exist before, to thrive, learn, and lead off of each other.
It's really exciting when you think about innovation to bring engineering and computing together with policy, law, business. You put all those ingredients together and you really have something special.
When we look at the connections and support needed to truly innovate, where to build becomes clear.
We focus on small, high-growth technology entrepreneurs and tech companies that are poised for growth.
Connecting with those industry players, making sure that we're getting feedback on the technologies that are being developed, co-developing and co-researching. Those are all critical elements of a tech economy.
This is Arlington, Virginia, and a new epicenter is breaking ground.
You need to have spaces where seminars can be conducted, where researchers from all different areas can come in and listen and learn, and then take that information back into their laboratories or back into their groups to work on next generation problems. All of that is here.
With innovation already underway in Mason's Institute for Digital Innovation pilot space, next is now.
You can basically move anywhere in this place to start your work.
It creates a new energy and a momentum for this region.
And it's all being powered by George Mason University.
Mason has always been synonymous with innovation. This is what we do.
The type of talent that this space can produce is going to be pivotal for our future.
Want to make your mark on our shared and bright future? Now's the time to join a growing list of collaborators and leaders, business, research and community partners, investors and supporters, Mason faculty and students, all together, building the innovation ecosystem our region and world needs. What's next starts now at Mason. Are you in?
So anyway, we'd love to get your feedback. Reach out to me. I'm listening, and hopefully some of you will join us in what we're trying to do in Arlington. Thanks. Mm-hmm.